All right, people, it's that time again. We have another question from Qbounti. This one is about the blatant ageism displayed by the mainstream media in regards to Bernie Sanders. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Today, we have another question from Qbounti. Don't forget, if I am not live and you have a question that comes to your head, you can ask it in the form of a quote-unquote super chat. If you go to qbounti.com/Niko, all you gotta do is qbount.com and go, and then you can submit whatever question you'd like, and the instructions are on the website. This question, or this person, and I want to give a shout out to him. It's Ali. Yeah, Ali. He asked me to respond to an article by USA Today that he says is displaying blatant ageism. Now, because this is a reaction piece, I have not read this article. I merely read the title to make sure it wasn't something crazy. But just looking at the title of the article, I can already tell this isn't going to be pleasant. The title of the article says, Democrats need to face facts about Bernie Sanders, his heart attack, and his health. What's interesting about that off rip, right, is the fact that Democrats at large, I'm not talking about the progressive wing, I'm talking about the establishment wing, the mainstream wing, if you will. They've already been pretty clear that they're going to use whatever they can to attack Bernie Sanders, and his heart attack has been one of them. However, his health overall, I've said this numerous times on numerous occasions. Bernie Sanders is healthier than Niko House is. Yes, I'm Niko House. I'm 31 years old. I got a little bit of gray, but clearly I'm not as old as Bernie Sanders. If me and Bernie Sanders went to have a runoff right now, obviously I could outsprint him. Hell, in Bernie Sanders' heyday, I could outsprint him. But if you want to talk about going to run 2-3 miles right now, Bernie Sanders would outrun Niko House. Look, I love Kyle. Kyle, my dog. But if Kyle Kalinske went and tried to outrun Bernie Sanders in 2 or 3 miles, it wouldn't happen. Because Bernie is a long distance runner by, that's what he did when he was in school. He was a cross country runner. He's taking care of himself. The only thing that I know that he has to work on is making sure that he eats correctly. And that's not unique to Bernie Sanders. That is the problem with anybody who was on the campaign trail going around the country and trying to stuff food down their face as fast as humanly possible before they go and give another speech or help out with another campaign event. So this article is going to be interesting. It was written by Kurt Bardea, and it's an opinion piece, of course, because it's always the opinion pieces that go viral, never the fact-based ones. So this article says, 3 months after suffering a heart attack, the Democrats' oldest candidate for president, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, released a statement from his doctor declaring that he has the mental and physical stamina to fully undertake the rigors of the presidency. Which by the way, once again, I 100% agree. I truly believe that. The man is sharper than attack, doesn't stutter when he's giving his speeches, doesn't hesitate, doesn't have a hitch in his step. So the article goes on to say, by all accounts, this is the most important election of our lifetime. Poll after poll shows the Democrats that for Democrats and Democrat-leaning independents, the priority is on selecting a nominee who has the best chance of beating President Donald Trump. I'm not gonna lie, that's most polls have that, like maybe 30-35%, but that's not everybody's. But hey, whatever, it's his lie, I'll let him tell it. Given that I am moved to ask this simple question, given that I am moved to ask this simple question, do Democrats really believe that the best chance to defeat Donald Trump lies with the 78-year-old who has already suffered a heart attack? Wow. So, blatant ageism. Okay, blatant ageism. Now, I feel some type of way about this because, as you all know, I've endorsed Tulsi Gabbard. And I've seen blatant and not so blatant ageism and sexism towards Tulsi, and it pisses me off just as much. People kind of say, well, she's inexperienced, but that's always a dog whistle for, oh, you're too young, and also it's not your turn. Basically what they're saying with Bernie is we can't get you on policy even though we've tried, and that still has not yielded, that's not yielded the results that we would have liked. Therefore, we're going to attack your age because you're now too experienced. You now have too much experience, and that's also bad. It's not right. Ageism is wrong. If you want to focus on, I'm not saying that we can't be concerned with his age at all whatsoever, but also the same could be said for Tulsi, for example. Or say we're not talking about the presidency. Say we're talking about just Congress. I know as a 31-year-old that AOC's age is a little bit of a concern to me because of the life experiences that we don't have yet. It's literally almost impossible. And for me, I'm 31 with military experience, which ages you by 5 years. That's not an exaggeration. And she does not have that. Her life has basically been confined to the limitations. And it's not a bad thing, but it's also something you should be mindful of. Being mindful of something and engaging in ageism are two different things. The article goes on to say, right now, the answer may be yes. Sanders is at or near the top of this month's polls nationally and in early states such as Iowa and New Hampshire. Let me be clear. My concern has nothing to do with Sanders' politics or policies or whether or not he's too left to win over votes in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Yeah, we know. Yeah, I'm glad you were clear about it. But hey, when is the argument ever about really? When is it ever really about his policies? Right? While those are legitimate grounds for discussion, it would be irresponsible and naive to ignore the issue of health and what it can mean for the campaign, particularly if Sanders becomes a Democratic nominee. The next paragraph starts off with, Sanders would be a gift to the Republicans. At the risk of incurring the online wrath of the Bernie bros, that's what we call gaslight, by the way. That's gaslighting to the 10th degree. The Bernie bros who might point out that former Vice President Joe Biden is 77, the fact that 1 in 5 people who have a heart attack will be readmitted for another within 5 years of their first. According to the American Heart Association, there is about 335,000 recurrent heart attacks in the United States each year. Boy, y'all act like this man was on a stretcher. Good God almighty. And none of those 335,000 incidents happened to people who are under the stress of running for president of the United States. Stress is an important word here. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, recovering from a heart attack should include lifestyle changes in managing stress. You know what's interesting? And I don't know the answer to this, but I would like to know how many people actually have a heart attack before they're 77. I know that sounds like a silly question, but let me explain. Bernie is the outlier for people of that age in a plethora of ways. He reminds me of my grandfather. My grandfather at this point, I believe is 83 years old. My grandfather still works 30 hours a week by choice. Now, here is why. So my grandfather is also an outlier, very similar to Bernie. However, my grandfather has to hook himself up to a, what is it called? He has to go into, this is basically where, you know, the thing where you got to hook yourself up to the heart thing because your heart ain't working the way it's supposed to. I wish I could remember what the name of it is. I'm having a brain fart right now. But basically, my grandfather can't go campaign around the country because he still has to do this every 2-3 hours a day for 4 days out of the week, even though he still works damn near full time. So even though my grandfather's outlier in his 80s, Bernie is clearly an outlier in a lot more way because my grandfather's been doing this since he was about 78. And Bernie is clearly and my grandfather's a smoker. He was, I should say. And he did not live the healthiest of lifestyles. Bernie, however, 77 years old, still goes running. If you ever see him in person, he's in great shape. He actually looks better this go round than he did the last go round. I just don't like when we're saying, oh, look at all these people. Look at the average American. Yeah, the average American doesn't have brilliant health care where they can get preventative services. The average American is going through what Marianne Williamson called sick care, not preventative care. That's not the same for one Senator Bernie Sanders. I think that the better comparison would be is, okay, let's compare other senators or politicians with similar health care to see how many of them have suffered major or minor heart attacks while campaigning, or how many have maybe passed away while in office around Bernie Sanders' age, maybe within, I would say, 8 years, one way or the other, right? I believe that, which I think a lot of you all probably believe, that and know, like if we're looking at a Nancy Pelosi, if we're looking at a Joe Biden, if we're looking at even John McCain before he passed. Look, they said John McCain was too old, and he probably was, but he was like mentally, in my opinion, too old. There's a difference between being too old and mentally too old. There's a different thing. That's you know what I'm talking about. But even John McCain died of like brain cancer. Like, that's not a heart attack. If it wasn't for cancer, literal brain cancer, which can happen to you at 20 years old, John McCain would still be here. He would still be a senator. You understand that? So I don't think it's fair to compare every American to a Bernie Sanders when every American isn't Bernie Sanders, nor is every American a senator, nor does every American have access to the health care that senators generally tend to have access to. I think that's a fair analysis. Now, he does go on to say, once again, displaying blatant ageism. Something is wrong with this 2020 picture. Bloomberg plus Sanders plus Biden plus Trump plus Warren equals an age of 374 years old. We know that Trump and his Republican accomplices are using every advantage of their power to procure a second term, from soliciting opposition research to help from foreign. Oh Lord, baby Jesus. From soliciting opposition research from foreign powers to purging voter rolls. Should somebody text him and let him know that he just subscribed to Democrats? If anything, Trump and the Republicans learned a lot from the Democrats in 2016. Just saying. That's what the Ukraine fiasco is about. They found out that the Ukraine was actually in the bag to help Clinton. That's a different discussion for a different day. And using widespread voter suppression tactics, that is true. Team Trump is actively tipping the scales of democracy in his favor. And you know what all the Democrats have to do to tip the scales of democracy in their favor? Stop shooting themselves in the foot with Glock 9 in one foot and then shooting themselves in the leg with a damn chopper in the other leg. That's basically what they do. You could easily tip the scales of democracy in your, because that's, once again, different discussion for a different day. All right, you about to get me on my tangent this morning. He goes on to say that under these circumstances, why would Democrats give Republicans the gift of a nominee whose health could derail the campaign at any moment? In true guilt fashion, the next paragraph starts off with, asking questions is not ageist. In making the monumental decision to choose who is best to challenge and defeat Trump, we need to ask some uncomfortable questions. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to indulge that paragraph anymore because I want to say this. Really, there's a few problems with the premise of this entire article. You're assuming that the most important thing in the world is to beat Donald Trump in 2020. That it is not to win, and win so handedly so that you have a mandate to get a progressive populist agenda passed. There are two people. No, actually, I lied. There are three people that I believe are best equipped to defeat Donald Trump for three actually unique, different reasons. Bernie has the movement and he has legacy. Tulsi has a level-headedness and a rejuvenating factor that kind of reinstills sanity and cooperation in democracy. Plus, she's not engaged in any of the Democrats' political games. And we know that Donald Trump is going to talk about those political games no matter what Democrat he goes up against, especially the ones who participated in Russiagate and Ukrainegate. Now, Andrew Yang will be the third option because Andrew Yang is viewed as a complete and total political outsider because he's never actually been involved in an elected office. And because of that, people feel like they can trust him more. He also has that businessman factor that a lot of people credit for partially why Donald Trump was able to stand out as far as comparing himself to Hillary Clinton. It's the same old versus the new hotness, if you will. And so Andrew Yang has that younger businessman factor that Donald Trump, Donald Trump talked about being a businessman, but Andrew Yang was a businessman, and he's also way younger. Not to mention, $1,000 a month, bro. It's really hard to have two options. I have Donald Trump or $1,000 a month. And I know y'all laughing. I know some of y'all probably like, nah, people are more nuanced than that. No, I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand. $1,000 a month or Donald Trump. I want you to say that shit 10 times to the American people on television, and you tell me what you think they're going to vote for. And in all seriousness, this is also something that people don't think about. He would be the first Asian, straight up East Asian, to ever be a nominee for any of the political parties. Oh, you think that he's not about to win every single Asian vote in this country? Oh, good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's like just in donations alone, it would be insane. Okay? He and Tulsi Gabbard are dominating the Asian donation base. So those are the three candidates I believe are best equipped to beat Donald Trump. However, they're also the one thing that ties all three of them together is the fact that it's not just about beating Donald Trump. And really, they're the only three who have made that a pillar of their campaigns. They make it known that that's what it's not just about beating Donald Trump. It's about achieving something greater for the American people to ensure that we don't have another Donald Trump going forward. That's what it's about. So thank you very much, Ali, for this Qbounti question. I really enjoyed it. I hate the fact that, these people do what they do. It sucks. I know, but it is what it is. Here we are, right? It's pretty cool that that Bernie has him so scared. The coverage of Bernie Sanders as of late, I think it has people even more fearful of a Bernie Sanders presidency than before. And hey, I mean, if you're not being attacked as a progressive, then you're not doing something right. That's how I feel about it. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning into this Qbounti question. If you want to submit a Qbounti question, like I said, you can just go to Qbounti.com and you will get a dedicated video to your question. All right, sound good? And if you're a creator, by the way, you can actually go to Qbounti's Twitter, DM them, and see if you can get set up with your own Qbounti. If maybe you don't get to go live that often, but you still want to be able to answer the questions from your support base, no matter, even if you only have a couple thousand subscribers. I'm sure a lot of them still have questions for you. And I'm sure a lot of them will want to help contribute to helping you grow. So you can go to Qbounti's Twitter, DM them, and see if they would see if you can be a part of the platform as well. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you like that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Of course, if YouTube is giving you trouble, as it always does, you can download the Rockfin app and follow us there. Also, if you want to continue to help our show grow, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon and donate as little as $1. Really, anything helps. Other than that, always remember, people, more than anything else, find your balance.